Good afternoon. Can we have the case name code, please?
Affaire IT
Case number IT 9623I. The prosecutor versus Dragan Gagović, Gojko Janković, Janko Janjić, Radomir Kovač, Zoran Vuković, Dragan Zelenović, Dragoljub Kunarac, and Radovan Stanković.
Thank you very much. From the outset, I'd like to find out from the accused whether he can understand what is going on in the language he understands. The accused.
No.
On? Is there no interpretation? You're not understanding us.
True. I can hear the interpretation.
You can understand what is going on.
Yes, I understand.
Thank you. I'm sitting alone for this initial appearance following the order by the acting president, Judge May, dated today. May I have appearances for the prosecution, please?
Good afternoon, Your Honor. If it please the court, Dirk Reineveld for the prosecution, and with me today are my colleague Peggy Kuo and the case manager George Huber. We're prepared to proceed this afternoon.
Thank you. For the defense?
If it please Your Honour, Howard Morrison for the defendant for today's proceedings, and again we are ready to proceed.
Thank you. May I find out from the defense counsel the particulars, your residence and the bar association to which you practice?
Yes, I'm a member of the Bar of England and Wales, called Bar by Gray's Inn, and I'm an assigned counsel to this tribunal in other cases as well as this case.
Thank you. I wonder whether the prosecution has submitted the relevant documents to the registry?
I believe so. I believe so, thank you.
Thank you. The accused is now making his initial appearance and is formally charged under Rule 62 of the Rules of Procedure and Evidence. Will the accused please stand up and give us his name, his date of birth, and his place of birth, and the name of his defense counsel?
Kovač, Radomir.
Radomir Kovač, born 31 March 1961 in Foca.
Thank you. What about the name of your defense counsel? You can't remember the name. Take it, Mr. Morrison.
Johnson. Morrison.
Mr.
Morrison, yes, just.
You may be seated. I just want to make sure with the defense counsel that the name of the accused is correctly spelled.
It is, as far as I know, Your Honour, yes.
Yes.
It's certainly the same name that I was given yesterday in the order from Judge May that I received today, and the same name that appears on the indictment.
Thank you very much. This is the initial appearance for the accused, as I have already stated. And we would like to make sure that the rights of the accused, according to Article 20 of our statute, have been complied with. We want to make sure that the accused understands the indictment and that his counsel has had time to discuss with him and give him instructions on today's proceedings, that is, on how he should plead. Under Article 21, the rights of the accused are also spelled out. So I'd like to find out from the defense counsel whether he has had time to discuss the indictment that the accused is facing.
Please, Your Honour, yes, I've had the opportunity this afternoon at the detention centre to go through the matters which he faces. As Your Honour will see from the indictment, they consist of the last two counts on the indictment alone.
Yes.
And so that has been a relatively straightforward task. And it has been subject, of course, to Your Honour's agreement. It has been determined that the proper course in this case is simply to read out the general background to the indictment and then simply read out those two counts being the only counts which name him.
Yes.
As far as the rest of the matters concerned under Article 21, I have specifically asked the defendant whether or not he has any complaints or observations that he wished to make to the court through me. He has no complaints to make at the moment. He has indicated what his plea will be, and I can tell the court that that will be one of not guilty to both counts on the indictment, and that any further matters that he needs to raise, he will raise through myself or other counsel, if he so chooses, in due course.
Thank you very much. The indictment which the registrar will refer to was issued by the prosecutor on the 19th of June 1996 and was confirmed by Judge Vora on the 26th of June 1996. Since counsel has indicated that the accused has had time to confer with the accused on the indictment, I'll ask the registrar to read the relevant parts of the indictment.
The prosecutor of the tribunal against Radomir Kovač. I'll start again. The prosecutor of the tribunal against Radomir Kovač. Indictment. The prosecutor of the International Criminal Tribunal of the former Yugoslavia, pursuant to his authority under Article 18 of the Statute of the Tribunal, charges Radomir Kovač with crimes against humanity as set forth below. Background. The city and municipality of Foca are located southeast of Sarajevo in the Republic of Bosnia and Herzegovina and borders Serbia and Montenegro. According to the 1991 census, the population of Foca, consisting of 40,513 persons, was 51.6% Muslim, 45.3% Serbia, and 3.1% others. The political and military takeover of the municipality of Foca started with the first military actions in the town of Foca on the 7th of April 1992. Regular military units from the Bosnian army and irregular military units from Serbia and Montenegro, supported by artillery and heavy weapons, proceeded to take over Foca section by section. The occupation of Foca town was complete by the 16th or the 17th April 1992. The surrounding villages continued to be under siege until mid-July 1992. As soon as the Serb forces had taken over parts of Foca town, military police, accompanied by local and non-local soldiers, started arresting Muslim and Croat inhabitants. Until mid-July 1992, they continued to round up and arrest Muslim villagers from the surrounding villages in the municipality. The Serb forces separated men and women and unlawfully confined thousands of Muslims and Croats in various short and long-term detention facilities or kept them under constructive house arrest. During the arrests, many civilians were killed, beaten, or subjected to sexual assault. During the takeover and the arrest of the non-Serb population, there was a close alliance between the Foca police, hereinafter SUP, and the Serb forces. The arms and uniforms for the Serb soldiers were distributed from the SUP building. Serb soldiers were constantly going in and out of the SUP building and started their wave of arrests from there. The Foca Kazneno-Popravni Dom, hereinafter KP Dom, one of the largest prison facilities in the former Republic of Yugoslavia, was the primary detention facility for men. Muslim women, children and the elderly were detained in houses, apartments and motels in the town of Foca or in surrounding villages, or at short and long-term detention centers such as Buk Biela, Foca High School and Partizan Sports Hall, respectively. Many of the detained women were subjected to humiliating and degrading conditions of life, to brutal beatings and to sexual assaults, including rapes. Besides the above-mentioned detention places, several women were detained in houses and apartments used as brothels operated by groups of soldiers, mostly paramilitary. The ICRC and other organizations, unaware of these detention facilities, did not intervene. Therefore, those detainees had no possibility of release or exchange. The accused. Radomir Kovač, also known as Klamfa, son of Milenko, born on the 31st of March 1961 in Foca, was a permanent resident of Foca at Samoborska Street. Radomir Kovač was one of the sub-commanders of the military police and a paramilitary leader in Foca. He was involved in the attack on Foca and its surrounding villages and the arrest of civilians. General allegations. At all times relevant to this indictment, a state of international armed conflict and partial occupation existed in the Republic of Bosnia-Herzegovina in the territory of the former Yugoslavia. All acts or omissions set forth herein as grave breaches of the Geneva Conventions of 1949 and recognized by Article 2 of the Statute of the Tribunal occurred during that armed conflict and partial occupation. At all times relevant to this indictment, the victims referred to in the charges contained herein were persons protected by the Geneva Conventions of 1949. At all times relevant to this indictment, the accused was required to abide by the laws or customs governing the conduct of war. Unless otherwise set forth below, all acts or omissions set forth in this indictment took place between April 1992 and February 1993. In each count charging torture, the acts were committed by or at the instigation of or with the consent or acquiescence of an official or person acting in an official capacity and for one or more of the following purposes: to obtain information or a confession from the victim or a third person, to punish the victim for an act that the victim or a third person committed or was suspected of having committed, to intimidate or coerce the victim or a third person and, or for any reason based upon discrimination of any kind. In each count charging crimes against humanity, a crime recognized by Article 5 of the Statute of the Tribunal, the acts or omissions were part of a widespread or large-scale or systematic attack against a civilian population, specifically the Muslim population of the municipality of Foca. In this indictment, acts of forcible sexual penetration of a person or forcing a person to sexually penetrate another are alleged. Sexual penetration includes penetration, however slight, of the vagina, anus, or oral cavity by the penis. Sexual penetration of the vulva or anus is not limited to the penis. Such acts can constitute an element of a crime against humanity: enslavement under Article 5C, torture under Article 5F, rape under Article 5G, violations of the laws and customs of war, torture under Article 3 and Article 3(1)(a) of the Geneva Conventions, and a grave breach of the Geneva Conventions, torture under Article 2b. Where the nature of the sexual assault is unspecified, the prosecutor is not aware at the present of the precise form of penetration or sexual abuse. The terms Serb soldiers or Serb forces used in this indictment refer to persons of Serbian descent under the command of the Bosnian Serb army or paramilitary forces connected thereto, who were either citizens of Bosnia-Herzegovina or citizens from any other part of the former Yugoslavia. Witnesses and victims are identified in this indictment using code names or pseudonyms such as FWS95 or initials, for example, DB. The accused is individually responsible for the crimes against him in this indictment pursuant to Article 7(1) of the Statute of the Tribunal. Individual criminal responsibility includes committing, planning, initiating, ordering, or aiding and abetting in the planning, preparation, or execution of any acts or omissions set forth below. The charges. Count 61-62, enslavement and rape of FWS 75 and FWS 87 in the Brena apartment. Radomir Kovač, detained between or about 31st October 1992 until December 1992, witness FWS 75, and until February 1993, witness FWS 87. Radomir Kovač was in charge of an apartment in the Brena block and had taken over the two witnesses, together with two other women he had received from Dragan Zelenovic, Gojko Jankovic and Janko Janic. Their situation was similar to what they had experienced in Karaman's house. They had to perform household chores and were frequently sexually assaulted. FWS 75 was detained in this apartment from about 31st October until about 20 November 1992. During that time, she had to do household chores and sexually please soldiers. Radomir Kovač and others frequently raped her. Around the 20th of November 1992, Radomir Kovač took FWS 75 and victim A, B, from the apartment to a house near the Hotel Zelengora. They were kept there for about 20 days, during which time they were frequently sexually assaulted by a group of Serbian soldiers. Although the two women were no longer in the Brena apartment, Radomir Kovač was still in charge of them. Around the 10th of December 1992, FWS 75 and victim A.B. were moved from the house near Hotel Zelengora to a flat in the Pod Masala neighborhood of Foca. There they stayed for about 15 days, together with the same soldiers as the week before. FWS 75 and A.B. were frequently raped during those 15 days. On the night when FWS 75 and the other women were brought back to the apartment, Radomir Kovač sold A.B. to an unidentified soldier for 200 German marks. In December 1992, FWS 75 was handed over to Janko Janic. FWS 87 was detained in Radomir Kovač's apartment from on or about the 31st of October until about the 25th of February 1993. During this entire time, she was raped by Radomir Kovač and another unidentified man. On one occasion, during their detention in Radomir Kovač's place, FWS 75, FWS 87 and other women were forced to take all their clothes off and dance naked on a table while Radomir Kovač watched. On or about 25th of February 1993, FWS 87 and another woman were sold by Radomir Kovač for 500 German marks each to two unidentified Montenegrin soldiers who took them to Montenegro. By the foregoing acts and omissions Radomir Kovač committed: Count 61, a crime against humanity punishable under Article 5c, enslavement, of the Statute of the Tribunal. Count 62, a crime against humanity punishable under Article 5g, rape, of the Statute of the Tribunal. Richard J. Goldstone, Prosecutor, 18th of June, 1996.
Thank you very much. Will you stand up, accused? You have understood the allegations and the particulars read by the registrar concerning the indictment for which you are charged, and the defense counsel has already explained that you are ready to plead today. So I'll put the two counts against you, to you, and you are supposed to plead using the words, "I plead guilty" or "I plead not guilty," and you're supposed to use those exact words. So I'll go ahead with count 61, a crime against humanity punishable under Article 5c, enslavement, of the Statute of the Tribunal. How do you plead to count 61?
I plead not guilty.
Thank you. Count 62, a crime against humanity punishable under Article 5g, rape, of the Statute of the Tribunal. How do you plead to count 62?
I plead not guilty.
Thank you. Pleas of not guilty are entered against count 61 and count 62. Please be seated. The registrar is instructed to issue a date for trial in due course. Having completed the initial appearance, we shall now move to a status conference, still in open court. I wanted to remind the parties that orders were already issued by the trial chamber for release of the audiovisual record according to Rule 81D, and also the order regarding permitting photography. These orders were issued on the 9th of March 1998, so they are still in force. The third order was also issued concerning the filing of motions by the trial chamber. The order was also issued on 9th March 1998. It is still in force regarding this indictment, so there is no need for new orders to be issued by the trial chamber. The order is hereby issued for the detention and remand of the accused pursuant to Rule 64 of the Rules of Procedure and Evidence, so that he can remain in the detention unit until further order. I'll now turn to the prosecution regarding disclosure and all the relevant sequence events that follow initial appearance. I would like to know what the position is.
Yes, Your Honor. My understanding is that we are in a position to provide, in general, most of the disclosure required immediately today. And I could ask my colleague perhaps to provide you with some specifics. I understand that there are English versions available immediately, but there are other versions which will be available in due course.
Yes, can we have the specifics, please?
Yes, Your Honor. We are prepared to provide in English and in BCS copies of the indictment, yes. Copies of the witness statements, all 11 witness statements which comprise the supporting materials, as well as a statement of facts that was also part of the supporting materials. Mm-hmm. We are aware of our obligation to provide any other materials that constituted the supporting materials in both languages within 30 days, yes. And so we will be able to comply with that forthwith. But today we have the two binders of English and BCS versions mm-hmm. of the documents I mentioned.
Thank you very much. The trial chamber is concerned with this particular case because there is another case which was part of the original indictment which the accused is facing. The trial chamber is interested in having this particular case coming to trial within a short period because the other trials the trial chamber is facing are about to come to a close. So it may be within 4 or 5 months that the trial chamber may be ready to set a trial date and actually start trial for this particular accused. So I would like to plead with the prosecution to proceed very quickly with disclosure procedures so that the defense counsel will have enough time within the remaining months of this year to prepare a defense and be ready for trial.
We will be able to, Your Honor, and as Your Honor pointed out, there is this other case and most of the documents have been translated already, okay. So those will be available very quickly.
Very much. We were informed by the defense counsel that the accused is okay, the detention facilities are all right. I would like to know whether there are any other matters the defense counsel would like to raise at this stage.
Nothing specific, Your Honour. I understand from Your Honour's comments that Your Honour may be anticipating that the trial of this defendant will be a trial of him alone.
No, that it may come up rather early next year.
Grateful for that indication. I can indicate now that it may be, although I may not be making the application myself, that there will be a motion before the court for the severance of his case from this indictment because he only faces the 2 counts on the indictment. Of course, that's a motion which will have to be determined upon its merits, yes. If and when it is made. But I think it's proper that the court should be forewarned for the administration of the case that may well happen, there may well be such an application. Mm-hmm. Beyond that, I should be grateful to receive such disclosure as available today, and of course to state the obvious point that the defendant will require all of the documentation in BCS rather than in English or in French.
Yes. Any matters to be raised by the prosecution at this stage?
No, at this time, Your Honor. I believe those are all the issues. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I believe we've come to the end of our proceedings this afternoon. The court will rise until further order.
All rise for your evaluation.